Hello to this video of my 3D section of my channel. From the title you've already seen, I'm doing a little bit of a fantasy themed item today. The inspiration came from a few, I think, cosplay pictures I have I found online, which looked cool enough to think about and do this model. It actually took me a lot longer. I used most of the week because right in the middle I came to a point where I was out of a good idea how to develop this piece. So there's a bit of a not a break, but there was a bit of a break this week. I had a few other things to take care of too, so I didn't have as much time as I wanted to for this. So the start is working with a single tube, which I formed into a spinal part, I think. So the idea was to create a spine at the start, and from there I developed a bigger piece. So the original what I saw was basically just a spine or spinal thing that was added to normal clothing. So I started with clothing underneath, which I dropped on a later occasion because I thought, no, I have a different idea, I want to take this a different way, and yeah, I dropped it. So the spine, the back part is finished, and then I went ahead, made a curve as a guiding line for the next part, and then I started working on the hip. And yeah, this piece has a lot, this clothing model has a lot of single pieces, as you can see. Yeah, the part that was difficult was that at some point, so I didn't have a clear vision of all parts. I had a general idea of what I wanted to do, where I wanted to go, but there were a few ideas missing. I didn't have a sketch. I didn't make a sketch before. I started with the idea I had and was hoping that the rest would come along the way, which took some time at some points because you will later see the breast piece is I did two breast pieces in the end. I had a first idea which ultimately didn't look like I wanted it to, so I deleted it, and then I had a bit of a break over the week to think about where do I want to go with this, what do I want to do. Also, the piece that I just made is just it wasn't a clear idea. It was more or less just filling the space at this point. Yeah, the first breast piece I made was based on a sphere and then made into a net kind of thing right there. And in the end I wanted to create some kind of cage, but it just didn't look like I wanted it to. It just didn't look anything like something I would, yeah, it didn't look right, so I decided to delete it, and then I took a few days to think about what I wanted to do. I had the idea of a skull, but it seemed a little bit, as a human skull seemed a little bit weird. Other kind of skulls would have not worked with the form I wanted to work with, so I looked through a few options, and in the end I went a whole different way. So this is the cage, and when I finished it, I was just like, I was already thinking, okay, this doesn't look any good, but I decided to at least add the bones around the side to connect all the pieces. But at this point I was already thinking, no, this doesn't look, I don't want this. So this is what I did today. I came up with the idea of wings, of bony wings. And yeah, this is what I went with, and it looked rather cool. So I started with another tube and made a single bone from it. Just like that. Added the texture right there, and then I put it around the body. And at this point I used a new tool which I found, which lets me zoom in on additional details. Speaking of new tools, if you look at the top right corner, I found the requested tool that somebody wrote in a comment and edited. This also meant that I had to change my recording a bit, because usually I record only the window, but when I do this it doesn't record the smaller window with the tool that I currently use, so I had to switch a little bit on the to record the monitor instead. So that's why you see a few more different things like the additional windows in the Explorer when I'm opening files. What I also did after finishing the model was I recorded how to implement stuff in Dev3D this time, because this was also something you asked, you asked in the comments, and I took the time to record this too. The most of the video is at 16 times the normal speed, so I took about 2 hours 40 minutes, but the import, or rather the translation from a simple model to a clothing, I recorded in real time, as well as the when I saved the project. So there's the wing. It's really not that difficult. It's just a plane that I moved onto the body. Added a few edges so I could later play around with it a bit if I wanted to. I then proceeded to make textures for the single parts. So basically the spine has a single texture, the hip area and the breast area has a single texture, so I can for example use the spine as a single accessory if I want to. So I can add the whole thing and then delete everything but the spine from, or make everything but the spine invisible. So Dev3D, as you can see, transfer utility tool. First I'm choosing Genesis 2, then the model, and then this time I went with a full body, and now he's setting it on the body, trying a few lightning ideas, so you can actually see how it works, how it looks. And with this we're already at the end. Thanks for watching and see you around.